In El Salvador, the currency's collapsed. In Nigeria, it's collapsing. In Lebanon, it collapsed 85%. In Zimbabwe, it collapsed. So what is the significance of Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the first engineered monetary system in the history of the human race. And that's the light bulb going off. We created an asset sitting on an open computer network, and there's never going to be more than 21 million of them. You can divide it into 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. So it's pretty infinitely divisible. But what it means is the human race has perfected the idea of a bearer instrument like gold, and we fixed all the defects of gold. If I bought $1 billion of gold, the gold miners will keep dumping more gold on the market. If the gold ever goes up by a factor of 10, gold jewelry gets melted down to dump gold on the market. And the fundamental problem with the gold standard and the gold reserve standard is there is no hard mathematical protocol or engineering protocol that links the paper gold or the fiat derivatives to the underlying asset. So as soon as the US got control of the gold supply after Bretton Woods, they could keep printing more and more money. And they weren't, and first it was 40% backed by gold, then 30%, then 20%, then 10%. Then all the other countries in the world realized that the US was just going to print infinite dollars, and the French got upset. So they started asking for the gold back. And when the French asked for the gold back, all the gold was flowing out of the US. And then Nixon said, oh my God, we're going to have no gold left. And so we can't keep giving people gold back. So we defaulted on the gold standard, and now everybody's free to print as much money as they wanted. And so that's by the way why you don't want to buy gold, because if you buy gold, a gold banker can basically sell 100 tons of gold for every 1 ton of gold they own. You call it hypothecation. There is no integrity between the paper derivatives and the underlying asset. And the absence of that technical integrity means, and we come back to engineering, it means that that I put energy into the system and it bleeds out 10% a year. So if I had a bathtub bleeding 7% per period, right? The bathtub drains, the swimming pool drains. If I have a leak in a fuselage of an airplane, it won't fly. If I have a leak in a hull of a ship, it won't sail. So Bitcoin's the first thermodynamically sound system. In the developed world, you have banks and you can move money from point to point for a few dollars. And you have Wall Street and you can buy assets like the S&P 500 index. If you had $100,000, if you don't put it in the S&P index, you lost purchasing power every year, 7% of it for a decade. So the store of value in the Western world is I shift my assets into ETFs and index funds and stocks, and I wire money around on Apple Pay or whatever it might be, write a check, it's cheap. In the developed world, 2/3 of Mexicans don't have a bank. In El Salvador, they don't have banks. Billions and billions of people don't have banks. And we say they're unbanked. In India, they don't have a bank. But most people don't really think about what that means. Here's what it means. You're a type 1 diabetic, and you don't have insulin. And that means you can eat infinite food, you can't form fat, and you will starve to death. That's what that means. If you can't store economic energy over a long period of time, it means that you can work yourself to death. All your life savings gets drained to zero. And in the month when you lose your job, your family starves to death. So unbanked. In El Salvador, it means there's 2 million people in the US that send $10 billion back to El Salvador every year. 1 billion of it gets stolen by the money transfer agents. Okay, they take a 10% commission. Crazy. Okay, you're taking 10% commissions from a wage laborer sending money to their mother, 10%. The Visa and MasterCard network, by the way, take 2.5%. They're monopolies. Okay, but 2.5% is painful, 10% is brutal. Then you have to get the money through a Western Union office, which means travel for 2 or 3 hours, and maybe you get mugged on the way. And when you get the money in a currency. In certain third world countries, you get the money in the local currency, which is losing 30 to 40% of its value a year. So I send you $1,000, you get 900, then you spend another 100 to get it. So you get down to 800. And then every month that goes by, you lose 50. So it's pretty devastating. That what's the problem? You can't move the monetary energy. And the second problem is you can't store it. I mean, in the US, the typical US or Western individual is losing 1% to 2% of their energy a month if they store it in the currency. The way they get around it is they buy S&P index, and the S&P is up 32% year over year, and they pretend they're rich, right? It's like, good. How does someone in El Salvador buy S&P index stocks? They don't have Robinhood. They don't have a bank,
Yep.
right? So you're living hand to mouth. So the significance of Bitcoin for them is you can take a $50 Android phone, download a software wallet. I can send you $87 instantly for free on a Lightning Network. If you store it in Bitcoin, it's going to go up in value. And otherwise you can spend it, and you're not at the mercy of I'd like to say banks, but the banks don't care. You're not at the mercy of the money changers. And the best case is El Salvador, where they use the US dollar, so they're only losing 1% to 2% of their purchasing power a month. The worst case is Zimbabwe, which means that somebody runs the country, you have to buy the local currency, and that person that runs the country gives billions of dollars of that currency to their buddy. And you better spend the currency, because it'll only be worth half as much in 4 weeks or 8 weeks. And in the real worst case, they tell you it's illegal to hold any other asset. I can't hold land, I can't hold gold, I can't buy stocks. And so, you know what, it's literally like taking your insulin away and making all of you diabetics and saying it's illegal to store fat on your body. Good luck with that. In the one day when you can't find food, you will surely die. Countries that are poorly managed lose their currency privileges. And what we can see is that at 100 countries in the world are all losing their currencies. Everybody's basically, the Venezuelans not going to have a currency. The Zimbabwe don't have a currency. Any currency that collapses more than 20 to 30% against the US dollar eventually fails. So people throw that over and they go to the dollar. The euro is effectively pegged to the dollar. Most of the other currencies are pegged to the dollar. So you've really got two currency systems. You've got CNY, and even the Chinese peg their currency to the dollar, right? If you look at it. So you've got the first world currency system, then you've got the developed world currencies. They're all failing.